right now on WESH 2.
They couldn't understand how I was still alive. I still had a pulse.
5 years. 5 years since the unfathomable.
And it is with great sadness that I share we have not 20 but 50 casualties.
5 years of rebuilding.
I'm still in therapy.
It's kind of like relearning who you are, like this new Norman, not Norman prior to Pulse.
Tonight, as our community reflects on such tremendous loss, it's also a moment to pause, to take stock of the acceptance born of tragedy.
People aren't afraid to identify as gay now as much as they were before.
And our city's place in helping change hearts and minds.
A lot of people have the perception that Orlando is LGBT friendly. Would you agree with that statement?
Tonight, WESH 2 examines how life has changed for the LGBTQ community as a whole, after and because of Pulse.
It's the city beautiful because it's diverse.
And what progress the LGBTQ community of Central Florida feels today.
They didn't die in vain. There's been a change because of them, and I'd like to hold on to that.
This is Life After Pulse.
It's a date that no one in Central Florida wants to remember. June 12, 2016, when Orlando was shattered.
The 5 years since the Pulse nightclub attack have brought solidarity from sorrow and healing from reckoning. And that's why tonight is not about looking back. It's about life after Pulse.
As we honor those who lost their lives that night, tonight we'll explore what's changed and the tremendous loss has helped foster a new dialogue with and for the LGBTQ community.
We're in Colonial Town Square Park at the Pulse Labyrinth, encircled by the names of the 49. The pathways from the Rainbow Heart Center are indirect and complex. They very much mirror the paths taken by those who lived that night. While the names and faces of the 49 who died are held in honor here, it's the survivors who feel they're wandering their own labyrinth. I recently spent time with 3 survivors, each still working all these years later to move forward.
There's a lot of things that you can't undo. I can't unsee. I can't unhear. It's there.
There's still things that I saw and I witnessed that I never in a million years thought that my brain was gonna have to process, that still play in there.
It was just hard for me to say, why did I sit alive and why not? Why I'm alive and why I'm not dead? Why my friend died and I didn't?
They're strangers to each other, but forever linked by one tragic night. They're survivors of the Pulse nightclub shooting, and ever since, they've each had to navigate a unique journey of healing.
It feels like it was yesterday.
5 years later, the memories are still so vivid. The pain is difficult to overcome. Becoming who he is today hasn't been easy for Norman Casiano Mojica.
I feel like my biggest moment in the 5 years has been getting this apartment and living on my own, because prior to that, I felt like I wasn't in control.
Norman was shot twice in the back at Pulse. Our cameras there that night saw him being walked to ORMC for help.
Without my mom and my dad, I honestly don't know where I would be.
Norman lived with his parents for years after Pulse. He couldn't take care of himself during his excruciating physical recovery, and coping with the trauma and the loss affected every aspect of his life.
Just the surviving part is, I feel, one of the hardest things that I've had to go through.
Permanent nerve damage, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and survivor's guilt.
I'm stuck in that loop of something is gonna happen.
Triggers are everywhere. He struggles to find genuine friendship and love, afraid of losing people close to him. He takes medications and can no longer work. Before Pulse, Norman completed culinary school, was working 2 jobs, and getting ready to start a cosmetology program. Now, he survives on disability payments.
To love again would mean to love again, to trust again, to let go of what was again.
Therapy and writing poetry help fill his days now.
I was in such a dark mental place that seeing where I am now, 5 years, and taking care of my mental health this year, it's like, I sometimes have to tell myself, give yourself a pat on the back. You're doing this.
I'm still in therapy.
Passion Suarez took cover on a stage at Pulse when the shooting started. She escaped the club but continues to struggle with PTSD, survivor's guilt, and even memory loss.
Everything is just kind of like ripped up paper and blown in the wind, and I'm trying to catch it to put it all back together. I would say that from June 12, 2016 to now, I would say I'm probably about 60 to 70% put back together.
Before Pulse, Passion was a bartender. After, she couldn't step foot in a bar. It was all too traumatic. And for the first time in her life, she needed assistance from others.
I kind of had to put my tail between my legs and go, hey, you don't have any money right now. You don't have any income right now. Accept this help. Because I'm always helping. Accept this help.
I am brilliant.
Affirmations help her get through the days and nights. And so does her son, Lorenzo.
Early on in his life, he had to learn how to love me more because mommy was distraught and stressed a lot of days. And he knows, like, if I get anxious, there's this little heart and it has a rainbow on it. And if I'm stressed, he'll just come and he'll sit next to me and he'll give it to me and he'll rub me and be like, Mommy, it's okay, you know, and we'll pray together.
He's the reason she continues to work towards reclaiming her life. In 2018, Passion started her own cleaning company.
I want to be a great role model for him. So when he, you know, sees me, he knows my mom busted her butt even after Pulse. After all the sadness and stuff, and she still got up every day and she still made sure I made it to school and made sure I had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. No matter who she had to get the money from or the food, I made it happen.
You said before you're about 60 to 70% healed or complete. Do you ever think you'll be 100%?
That's my hope. That's my hope.
They couldn't understand how I was still alive. I still had a pulse.
Leo Melendez was shot in the head, the elbow, and the leg inside Pulse nightclub. 3 weeks in a coma, dozens of surgeries, hearing and vision loss. Leo had to learn to walk again. Therapy he's still in today, but Leo says he chooses to focus on all of the good things in his life.
I'm like, I don't have no other choice. Think about it. I said, if I don't have that positive inside of me, I will literally just, you know, unravel like completely. So I have to have that. And I put myself in my brain, I have to be positive. I have to be positive for the people that love me and for myself.
Leo lives for his daughter Bella and for his friend Javier Jorge Reyes, who was by Leo's side and lost his life inside Pulse. The pair were co-workers at the Gucci store at the mall at Millennia. Leo is grateful the company held a position for him for 2 years while he recovered. But it's not lost on Leo. His life could have been different.
I could have a better position. I could have, you know, making more money, if you want to say. But due to the lack of the handicap place that I am now, even though I don't want to put myself as a handicapped person, but I am. I mean, I cannot hear 100%. I cannot run anymore. So I cannot do things that normal other person can do.
Leo says he has closure thanks in part to 6 months of mental health counseling.
It was therapy to help me to reassure that what happened was, it was not under my, you know, my fault. It was not my fault at all.
Survivors of the attack have been offered free mental health assistance. It's coordinated through the Orlando United Assistance Center, connecting anyone touched by Pulse with counseling. But the OUAC's funding is running dry. What is the reality? How long do you think this program is sustainable?
I know we can sustain it for the next year.
Also, all of the funds to help survivors who may be disabled or struggling to work and pay bills because of PTSD are gone.
It's just kind of like we don't really exist.
But life-altering injuries, physical therapy, surgeries, PTSD, survivor's guilt, anxiety, and depression last far longer than funding and services.
It's really sad to me when I see our clients that are survivors or family members that experience one of the worst mass shootings in American history are in poverty.
Joel Jr. Morales has been helping Pulse survivors since day one, working for the center and OUAC.
I have heard of Pulse survivors that are experiencing homelessness. One person was living in a U-Haul truck. Like, that's sad.
I feel there could be a little bit more. I know how to budget money and stuff, so it lasted me way longer than a lot of other survivors that I've spoken with and stuff. but then it runs out.
The One Orlando Fund raised $31.6 million. Families of those killed got $350,000. The survivors got anywhere from $25,000 to $300,000. This was the only money they ever got. In 2020, OUAC commissioned a study of what survivors still need. It found mental health services and financial assistance were top of the list for at least another 4 years.
I wish there was something that was continual for these people, just because there's a lot of healing and recovery that still needs to be done.
The One Orlando Fund is now closed. Their website directs you to donate to the Better Together Fund. That fund, which had $300,000 to help survivors and families, ran out of money in 2019 and is also now closed.
I would say that they should probably could have done more help to the people that were left in really bad shape like I did, because it's not just me. I know there's other few that were left in pretty bad condition as well.
Everything that's going on nonprofit-wise with Pulse that everyone sees kind of has nothing to do with, actually I can take the kind of out, it has nothing to do with the survivors.
Barbara Poma, the owner of Pulse Nightclub, founded One Pulse after the massacre.
I think everyone wants to provide them everything that they need. I mean, who wouldn't want to give them everything that they need?
One Pulse is raising money for the proposed museum, education services, and legacy scholarships. They've raised $20 million so far, and they're looking to raise another $49 million. But the foundation does not provide financial assistance to survivors.
So when the conversation was happening to form One Pulse, did it ever cross your mind to maybe help them financially?
In the initial inception of One Pulse, you know, there were so many services in place and so many other people doing that work that when we were figuring out what to do here, we were told that we shouldn't duplicate efforts, that those things were already happening, those mechanisms were in place, and that anything we would be doing would be in duplication.
But today, 5 years later, those services and funds no longer exist or are broke.
As you said, there are financial services still available to Pulse survivors. And I've been making a lot of phone calls over the last few weeks, and there are none. There are still resources if they need mental health help. They can contact several places to find that. But for survivors who are struggling financially, there's no more money left.
It wasn't that I said to myself, you know, how long is this going to last? I was in myself trying to figure out what to do next too. So I think that we know people are still having surgeries and are medically have needs and financial needs. But at the time, it wasn't in my purview to know how much they were getting or how long it was going to take. These weren't things that I was involved in, or did I know about.
What about now?
Well, now the foundation is chosen the path of building the memorial and museum, and that is the mission of the One Pulse.
Through the years, we've spoken with several people critical of the foundation's mission and Poma herself. Even today, some say raising $49 million to build a museum is tone deaf, while survivors struggle daily.
There's no number that I can call right now if I needed help with my electricity to call and be like, hey, like, I know you guys have gotten all these donations. Is there a way? There's none of that.
Poma told me One Pulse has a dedicated staff member who helps refer survivors to places where they might be able to get the assistance they need. Places like the Orlando United Assistance Center, which just had its Pulse survivor funding vetoed by Governor DeSantis. That means there are no funds available to help survivors like Norman, Passion, and Leo reach their goal to build back a full life after Pulse.
I keep going forward, just forward, smile, and say, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be okay.
I have to remind myself that I'm here, I'm in the present, and it's okay to feel like this because I'm so down on myself of feeling sad. Like, I'm like, Passion, you can't. You have to be strong. You have to be strong. And I do, but it's okay for me to feel sad, just not wallow in it.
I think about my friends. I think about, like, the fact that they passed and that I want to make them proud. I want them to be able, wherever they are, to be able to see, and I'm getting a little emotional, but for them to be able to see like that those of us that did survive, we deserved to survive, and we're doing what we can with it for them.
It's the one place where everybody literally is welcome.
In all my 50 years, it's been the only time I felt at home. I've always felt welcome here, and I never got that in any other church.
Finding acceptance and faith. How Orlando has helped LGBTQ people reconcile their relationship with a higher power.
Welcome back to Life After Pulse, where we continue to explore the progress made for the LGBTQ community after the attack. The horror of what happened at Pulse pushed many people to lean on their faith. But for the LGBTQ community, relationships with traditional religions are complex.
For many, the faith they were raised in no longer accepts them. But having a relationship with a higher power in the face of such tragedy helps the healing. Westview Sheldon Dutez found houses of worship where inclusivity isn't just preached, it's practiced.
On any given Sunday at Joy Metropolitan Community Church, the worship team and Reverend Terry Steed Pierce gather to worship.
Jesus had been rose from the dead.
Even though the services are currently broadcast online for COVID safety, the welcoming colors of the rainbow are proudly on display all over the sanctuary.
And that will let folks know in our community, okay, we're good because there are the colors.
Colors that have welcomed marginalized worshipers for more than 40 years.
I would describe Joy as a church created for and by the LGBTQ community.
Tell me, why is it so important to have a place like this existing within a place of worship for this community?
Well, for so long, you know, we couldn't go to certain places, or if we were out or exposed or outed, we were asked to leave or excommunicated or that kind of thing.
Reverend Terry is Joy's senior pastor. How does your sermon differ for this audience versus any other Christian audience?
It's for any Christian audience, I believe, but will address the LGBT issue that most people either ignore or condemn. And so you'll never be condemned here.
What comes out of my mouth is what's in my heart. When the heart and the mind comes together, that thing is going to show up.
An inclusive environment that Pastor Bree Taylor has also cultivated for her non-denominational congregation at Oasis Impact Church.
Isaiah says, they that wait on the Lord. Hallelujah.
It's passionate. I'm very passionate about everything.
And that includes making worshipers feel loved and accepted regardless of who they love.
Oasis was birthed out of truly a need for an open and affirming community, faith community, and one that looked more like me.
Talk to me about the importance of providing a safe space, particularly for the Black LGBT community.
It's paramount. Same gender loving people, Black people are, traumatized because of not having a welcoming, affirming, warm, embracing community.
I was ordained a minister in a Pentecostal church before coming out in my truth, and I wrestled with that. How can I be both? I mean, I preached the sermons. You can't be Adam and Steve. I preached those very sermons, and to the point that I was honestly suicidal.
It's a complicated struggle for Q Wright and a lot of LGBTQ people who grew up in Christian religions, but Pastor Bree welcomed her.
No judge zone.
There's a lot of love here, very diverse group of people here.
And I felt so much acceptance here, being able to just worship God just like everybody else, and it not matter who my partner was.
In the 5 years since Pulse, Pastor Bree remains focused.
We go from here building resiliency, building strength, building self-worth.
You gotta remember growing up, singing that old hymn.
At Joy, there's a stained glass tribute honoring the men and women who died that June night.
As long as I'll be here, the 49 Angels will be here, because I never want to forget.
Reverend Terry has also taken her ministry to the street.
We're at protests. We're going to stand up with people. We're going to march for folks. We're going to be at press conferences and speak out against things that are hateful and harmful to anybody in our community.
A community whose faith has sometimes been challenged by traditional Christian religions. What would you say to the mother or father who has grown up in the Christian faith and they're worried about their son or daughter going to hell?
I hope that parents will understand God's love is so much deeper than our minds can comprehend. And it goes deeper than we might ever even imagine. And if you could just know we were created this way, your child was created that way, and there's nothing wrong with them.
What would you say to anybody who's watching this program who's in that boat and feels like they cannot reconcile their faith life with their sexual identity or their love identity or whatever the case may be?
God is a God of inclusion and has done all the hard work to embrace and to throw his arms wide open. And nobody can close those arms. As an adult, you can come to grips with your sexuality and your faith walk and know that there really is a loving God that did all of this, not to alienate, but to draw close.
As Orlando has rallied with and for the LGBTQ community, what about the rest of Central Florida?
We are very, very fortunate to be able to live our life this way.
From the coast to the countryside, we talk with proud community members about the acceptance they feel outside Orlando.
We're at a different time now and grateful for that.
I really want to embrace my community and send love to others.
I think Pulse has brought the community together closer than it was before.
Welcome back to Life After Pulse. I'm Michelle Imparato.
And I'm Stuart Moore. To honor those who lived and those who died, tonight we are examining how life has changed for the LGBTQ community in the 5 years since Pulse.
In the weeks and months after the attack, Orlando was recognized for its inclusivity. From Orlando Strong to the designation of safe spaces, the community embraced its reputation for acceptance.
That's within the metro. What about beyond city limits? Did Pulse impact Central Florida the way it did Orlando? West 2's Matt Lapoli traveled from the coast to the countryside to find out.
No matter how many miles out from Orlando, people all over Central Florida felt the wave of sorrow when the attack happened.
It was very difficult, even just driving by there and thinking about what happened there is a lot to handle.
Justin Cercone has also felt a different kind of wave too over the years, more akin to a slow shift in tide, perhaps.
We're at a different time now and grateful for that.
A few years ago, he got involved with the group Space Coast Pride. Now he's the president.
We're moving it to historic downtown Melbourne.
This year's Space Coast Pride Festival will be the biggest in its history, a trend that it's maintained over the past decade.
It was just a small picnic in a park that was the first one.
I got a tutu.
In 2019, we had around 12,000 people attend, and we had it in the Eau Gallie Arts District that year. And there's more acceptance. We definitely are more conservative in Brevard County, and we are very grateful, lucky that even during our festivals and stuff, we've been not had a lot of issues there, and we hope that continues, but as always, it's a discussion that we have to have.
LGBTQ organizations in the outlying areas of Central Florida are few and far between, unlike Orlando, where there are 3 times the groups found in the rest of the area. But where they do exist, they are strong. One of them, about 60 miles away from Orlando and in the opposite direction from the coast, is in the Villages.
We are very, very fortunate to be able to live our life this way.
Wendy O'Donnell and Peggy Garvin are married and have lived here for over 20 years. They helped found the Rainbow Family and Friends in the Villages, welcoming in countless newcomers over the years, friends who are now like family, like Jill Schwartz.
As conservative as this area is, the gay people that I know have never had a problem with neighbors. They are friends with their neighbors. Now, I don't know how neighbors would feel about the transgender community, because that is different. But when it comes to gay and lesbian, they've just been fine and welcoming.
And sometimes these friends are here to help neighbors who are searching for advice and understanding.
We're having grandparents come and say, my grandson is now transgender. We tell them, just love her the way she is and, be open with her. And
Peggy's also been working to help create a more inclusive environment for LGBTQ kids in nearby schools.
I know how hard it was for us growing up. We had to be invisible. And the kids today are not invisible. They have social media, which we didn't have. And so they're more out there and they're more vulnerable.
It took some work here, too, though, over the years, getting people in their own generation to feel a sense of freedom.
People had spent their career as teachers or military or government workers that had looked over their shoulder their whole life.
Yeah, it's you're only going to get maybe about 3 feet tall. Tons of purple flowers. We've come a long way. This whole country has come a long way.
Kim Fielding and wife Susie Basting run a produce and plant store, Kim's Cabbage Patch, along State Road 50.
20 years in Clermont, Florida. Started out, just a little fruit stand, and we've been blessed enough to still be here 20 years later. We're like the country for Orlando.
Here,
look, it's even got a Disney.
Everybody's a friend.
This is a happy place.
And this is also a place of remembrance now. 5 years after Pulse, everybody passing by sees the effect the attack had here.
We organized a lot of things out of there. you know, to benefits and fundraising and all of that.
It was devastating for a lot of people, not just us, everybody.
That's why their walls honor the 49
My goodness, those kids, they didn't have a chance.
and display symbols of love and peace even more colorful than the flowers in front of them.
We painted the front window and we did the heart, and then we couldn't stop, so then the door got painted.
Some people who pass by stop just to see it, some to sign it. For Kim, one survivor's visit is especially memorable.
She had been shot 12 times, and she kept driving by, going back and forth to the doctors. And she goes, I just want to get well enough to walk in there and sign that wall. Easy to take care of. We put a lot of these in hanging baskets.
And as long as they're here, their special piece of Claremont will recognize the place they knew well in Orlando, and the people lost, and the lives changed.
They have the 49 bells that they ring every year across the country, across the world. All these churches, a bunch of different people, and we join in. We're a small little place. We have a little tiny bell, but we say every single one of their names and we ring the bell.
We can't forget them. We cannot forget them.
As acceptance has grown, so has the ability for people to fully explore the deeper truth of who they are.
It's why we use the acronym LGBTQ, standing for gay, lesbian, bisexual, trans, and queer. And while gays and lesbians we've heard from tonight feel an equality of rights and freedoms, those identifying as something else are feeling left out.
West 2's Kelsey Thorud takes a look at who progress might be leaving behind.
We say that what happened pre-Pulse and what happened post-Pulse, oftentimes when we're talking.
But those of us who identify as LGBTQ are a diverse bunch, and many in the latter half of the acronym say they still deal with a lot of challenges.
That there are more than just the main two.
Eric Connor is bisexual. Bisexual means you are attracted to more than one gender. Eric told me he still has a hard time getting people to take his sexuality seriously.
It's just a stepping stone to being gay. I've heard that a lot of times.
Eric says thankfully he doesn't experience a lot of overt discrimination, but for bisexuals like himself, he says the biggest problem is a lack of visibility.
With my relationship, I have a wife, I have kids. Looking from the outside, you wouldn't see, oh, he's part of the community until, hey, I go to an event or I wear a t-shirt or, I show that, hey, I'm bisexual. So that's...
Is that hard for you? Because I know, like, I'm a gay woman as well. And, a lot of people assume that I'm straight. And really, within the LGBT, it's hard because you can't see it. So in order for someone to know, you have to be really the one to initiate it and tell them.
There's always that one moment when you, before you tell someone that you're like, okay, are they going to accept me for who I am?
It's like this stigma, it's like conversations that we need to have and kind of like break through that glass.
Joel Jr. Morales told me he too understands that feeling of invisibility.
Growing up, I never seen myself reflected in anything I encounter.
Joel is queer.
Queer is such a politicized word, if I want to say politicized, because for older adults, it's very triggering. Even for myself growing up, I'm approaching 40. And when I was younger, the word queer was a slur.
But in recent years, queer has been reclaimed by the community and is now used as a sort of all-inclusive term.
Do you think that that's why queer has become such a big word within the community now, is that it is this kind of umbrella term that includes anyone, and you can kind of shift between the other letters and not feel like you are not being authentic?
Exactly, yeah, 100%. It gives you that flexibility to kind of like be fluid in between that and not have like this specific label that doesn't fit.
In terms of our rights, I think in the last 5 years, they've only been taken away.
I don't pretend it didn't just happen.
Maya Monet is trans. Transgender means you identify as something other than the sex you were assigned at birth.
It definitely seems like out of all of the letters within the community, the trans community has definitely been much more targeted as of recent. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yes, and I think that's been the case for years. We're the tip of the spear when it comes to discrimination.
Dozens of trans people are murdered every year. According to the Human Rights Campaign, 44 trans or non-binary people were killed in 2020, making it the deadliest year since the HRC has been keeping track. 2021 has the potential to surpass that number. In just the past 5 months, there have been 27 deaths, 2 of which happened in Florida. Advocates say numbers are likely to be even higher because transgender deaths often go underreported or misreported. A person's gender identity may not always be readily available in the police report. That was the case in the murder of Sasha Garden in Orlando in 2018.
Trans rights! Trans rights! Human rights!
Members of the trans community can also face roadblocks when it comes to updating their legal ID to reflect their identity. And now new anti-trans laws are popping up across the country to limit other trans persons' freedoms and access to care.
There have been lots and lots of attempts to limit our rights, a few successful ones. And what's happening now is just the latest wave, and it's pretty bad.
We have definitely regressed in the last 4 years.
Gina Duncan is with Equality Florida, an organization that fights for LGBTQ rights.
They are now pushing legislation to ban best practice healthcare, affirming healthcare for our transgender young people. And the bills that have been in the news recently have been these transgender sports bans.
When you are a young person and there's legislation going through that says you can't play sports because you are a trans female, that absolutely impacts your mental health.
Heather Wilkie with the Zebra Coalition says they're doing everything they can to help trans youth.
You know what, this is cultural. You know, we create this system. We determine, you know, what is our norm for how someone is going to be based on their gender. And so we can also unwind that.
Laverne Cox on the cover of magazines, Elliot Page on the cover of magazines, that kind of thing. People are paying attention.
So 5 years post-Pulse, a lot has improved, but a lot still needs work. And those within the BTQ of the LGBTQ community say it's going to take all of us, no matter your label, to get the job done.
And we have to ensure that everyone feel supported and receive the services, and we build a safe, affirming space for everyone.
So I'm just so excited that we were able to get together for this conversation.
Still ahead, we bring together a diverse group to talk about coming out over the years. What's changed? What's the same? And Orlando's status as a city of acceptance.
back to Life After Pulse, where we continue to explore the progress made for the LGBTQ community.
The attack on June 12, 2016 brought an outpouring of love and support, but it also sparked some uncomfortable conversations.
They surrounded sexual identity, religion, ethnicity, and weaving it all together, acceptance.
Or lack thereof. So in the 5 years since, we wanted to know if Pulse and those conversations had changed hearts and minds. That's why we brought together a group who identify as gay and lesbian to talk with WESH2's Sheldon Dutes.
Yeah, come on through. Nice to see you.
We met at the Veranda in downtown Orlando.
Good to see you again.
To talk with 6 Central Floridians ranging in age from 60 to 21 about what it's like being openly gay and lesbian in Orlando.
A lot of people have the perception that Orlando is LGBT friendly. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, I think that Orlando is definitely a wonderful haven for individuals that sit on the LGBTQ+ spectrum. I think Pulse has brought the community together closer than it was before.
Huge change, in my opinion, from the late 80s to now. Huge. Even huge from 5 years ago to now.
It's been beautiful to see since Pulse how the community has come together, how there have been so many amazing Black and brown LGBTQ leaders that have come out from Pulse, myself included.
I think that Orlando has an amazing trajectory of where it's come versus where it's going. And I can say personally that I've never felt more at home, and I've never felt more comfortable being able to walk down the street and hold my wife's hand. There are still a lot of places in Florida that I do not feel comfortable doing that.
In general, you say Orlando, we have a lot of suburbs, and not all those are certainly very safe still. I did not feel comfortable in the early 90s even. I was fired for being gay, which I don't share a lot. I was glad. I went on to become a paramedic and crime scene investigator, and other, it was a blessing, like most things that hurt are in the long run.
Hurting and time are themes for so many LGBTQ people as they come to understand themselves and allow the world to know their truth.
I started to realize that I was a little bit different in 7th or 8th grade, and I thought I was transgender because I thought you had to be a man to like women, and I was like, oh, then I'm a guy, I'm a bro. I heard about this term lesbian and I went, oh, no, backtrack, that's it, that's what I am.
How did your parents react when you came out in 9th grade?
My parents, they lean in and learn a lot. There are a lot of times where I admit I get frustrated, where I'm like, ugh, but they really do lean in and try to learn.
It's such a gift for me at my age to watch someone her age so confident and full of hope and artistic joy. I mean, I think it's just fantastic. I came out in the 80s. I came out in the middle of the AIDS crisis. I was in my 20s. I was out of law school. I think there was never a time where I didn't know that I was gay. I was embraced pretty much by everybody that mattered to me, with the exception of some hurdles with my family because they were very Southern and very conservative. We worked through the hurdles over a period of years, but it would not be genuine to say there weren't some very unpleasant and estranged times, but they worked out.
Because of all of the struggles that I had to face as an immigrant and also as an LGBTQ person, my coming out was not easy at all. I come from a very Catholic family. I was shunned by my mother, literally being called almost daily to tell me that I was going to go to hell, until there was a moment in which we were able to reconcile our relationship again about 8 years ago. And that really motivates who I am today and the work that I do.
My coming out story was really dark, and it was really awful. There's a lot of people that have really easy scenarios and their parents love them and it's wonderful and everyone's great, but mine wasn't like that. And it kind of rocked my world. I was 19. I was in a relationship with someone for about 2 years before I kind of got caught going to her house. It was awful in the moment, but looking back, like I wouldn't have changed anything, And now we have grown so much as a family. Both of my parents are wonderful. They treat my wife just like they treat my sister's husband.
I grew up as a PK, which is an acronym for a preacher's kid, and I came out, I would say officially at 21, but unofficially at 18. It's really been an amazing journey of finding myself and being able to really be myself authentically, transparently, and really know that just because of who I am does not mean that whatever entity I believe in doesn't love me or doesn't see me as a human being.
I came out in the late 80s. I was 19, and I also was a PK. So Southern Baptist, it's a whole different world. It's so funny even to talk about community, because then there really was no, for some of us, there was no community. There was no LGBTQ community. I was in Lakeland, Florida. Got kicked out of college. I went to a Christian college on a scholarship. So when they found out, I was no longer able to go there.
For anyone who is watching this story, family members, friends, colleagues, people who don't identify as gay or lesbian, how can they, I guess, be an ally, or I guess how can they support?
I instantly think of my parents, and I think of my sister and how they didn't get it, and they won't understand, and they can't possibly understand, and that's okay. And you don't have to accept it, you don't have to understand it, you don't have to love it, but you do love me, and that's the difference. So if I could give any advice to anyone who's listening, just love them.
Leaning in to listen and understand, that's the first thing for me. Is being an ally is having that willingness. It's okay not to know pronouns. It's okay not to understand the difference between gender and sexual orientation, but leaning in to listen, leaning in to understand.
For straight allies, it would be love us, right? And ask questions when you are confused or when you feel uninformed. And for LGBT allies, I think it's important to not be afraid to answer questions, but to answer them with love and to let people come around.
I think it's worse to just avoid. So let's say the wrong things and help each other. Let's give each other grace to mess up sometimes.
Just like any other community, we are diverse and we come from different places. And that's part of the beauty of who we are and the gift that it is to be in community with each other.
I think that was a moment for a lot of people where they dropped their bias and judgment.
Reflecting on Orlando's changed landscape when life after Pulse returns.
The Pulse Labyrinth at Colonial Town Square Park, where we are tonight, is just one of dozens of tributes to the 49 lives lost at Pulse nightclub.
In the days and months that followed, our community became so colorful.
Works of art sprang up across Orlando aimed at easing our grief.
As quickly as the landscape of Orlando changed that night in 2016, our community changed it back. Bigger, bolder, better. Here's Matt Lipoli.
We will not let hate win. That call sprang up across Orlando after the attack. Now, even 5 years later, some of those signs still stand.
I feel like rainbows are a symbol of unity.
On a busy street just outside downtown, the home where Emily Buckley and her husband raised their daughter, Zelda, is a symbol of sorts itself, with a rainbow everywhere you look.
I really want to embrace my community and send love to others.
And their family's not alone with making a display out of their home. And each sign or flag is part of the visible change across the city. For the Buckleys, a big part in choosing their neighborhood after living outside the city is its outward sense of inclusivity.
And I've seen it around Colonial Square Park.
The park's labyrinth is a colorful memorial to what the community lost at Pulse. And ever since, in response, are other colorful reminders of the community's growth and healing.
I usually go out there with a couple people and we just make sure it's cleaned up.
Each year now, artist Andrew Spear touches up the mural at the corner of Mills and 50. It was the first in a series of murals that now line walls across the district, many of them painted after the attack, celebrating love and tolerance.
I think people might find some solace in it, you know, because art, I don't want to sound cliche with it, but art does heal.
5 years ago, Andrew was commissioned to help start the healing process almost immediately.
And she was like, I want to get a mural up by the end of the week, somewhere in Mills 50. And then it was like, oh, I can do the 49 birds, almost like they're flying out of the Pulse symbol or the logo, and they're ascending. So I'd be like, oh, here's red, here's yellow, you do this bird. I'll draw it all out, you know, everything's ready to go. And that way, everyone was part of it.
And along with the others that came shortly after it, the mural now is a landmark.
I know some cats that even have got that image tattooed on their arms.
And always a reminder.
No one wants to go through that again.
And from the murals to the rainbow colors added to the amphitheater beside Lake Eola, change is not just apparent in paint, but also patronage.
We're happy to be part of the community and what we do.
Inside Hamburger Mary's on Church Street, where the stage is always set for drag performers, new faces have come to be part of the crowd.
We've seen a lot more couples, you know, straight couples and groups of 20 or 30, just mixed men and women and just coming out for a good time. You know, it's not looked at as a gay restaurant. It's looked at as a place where anybody could go and have fun and see a great show and not feel uncomfortable at all. And I see that change happening.
The restaurant is a mainstay now, but it wasn't always that way.
People say, well, we opened Hamburger Mary's here and, you know, you found the right spot and it's perfect, it's in the middle of everything. And it really was our fifth choice and our last choice because we went to other spaces and they didn't want our concept. They didn't come quite out and say that, you know, they didn't want a gay-themed restaurant in their building or in their strip mall, but they didn't want to have the shows that we have or have that kind of entertainment associated with them. So at the end of the day, it worked out great. And I can't think of Hamburger Mary's being anywhere else. And I think the open-mindedness that we're seeing now is 180 degrees from what we saw when we opened in 2008. And that is accelerated, I think, since Pulse.
Onto the top of the hive, and then you rub it on your soap, and then you...
Across town, a shop recently opened its doors.
Yeah, a lot of people ask, you know, is it your surname?
For Jeff Starks, Maffrey's stands for several dreams made a reality.
Matthew is my husband's name. Obviously, I'm Jeffrey, and so the two combined make Maffrey.
Not only was starting a business a long-time goal, but so is being able and comfortable sharing its story and his truth with the people who walk inside.
The joy that I'm using telling the story and their response, it just reaffirms why we're here in Orlando, because that wouldn't happen in a lot of other cities. It's the city beautiful because it's diverse the inclusion that you feel.
You can't beat that.
That I can interact with my husband the way that anyone else would. I don't know that that would have happened 5 years ago. The city grew in leaps and bounds, and we're riding that wave. I definitely think that we have seen lasting change, that we're not going to go back.
Having it be part of just our neighborhood's everyday life, it's really been an amazing thing to see. It's kind of this constant reminder.
They didn't die in vain. There's been a change because of them, so, and I'd like to hold on to that. They probably changed millions of minds across the world.
Changed minds and hearts. It is truly remarkable how so many in this community work each day to hold up others.
And while we know there's a long road ahead for those who have been marginalized, let the advances of the last 5 years provide you some solace that we are moving forward on this path of progress.
This year and each year on June 12th, remember those who just wanted to dance and those who are dancing right now because of them. For the entire WESH 2 team, thank you for watching.